to talk to you today about genes, dominance, and alleles. To talk about this particular aspect of biology, we're going to think of a very interesting example. Imagine the land of the Democratic Nationalistic Area, or, for short, DNA. In this land, the primary and most popular activity is a sport called trait. You see, trait is very, very similar to tennis, but with a few differences. First off, the court is called a Punnett square. Second off, the goal of the game is not to hit the ball onto the court, but to hit a recession on a wall behind a court. Let me draw this. Here is the Punnett square court. One player gets this half of the court, and the other player gets this half. There is a wall back here. In it is a hole. The player on this half is trying to serve the ball or hit the ball back into this, and the player here is doing the same, only to this. Now, in this particular sport, the players are called genes. But if we start talking about specific players, we call them alleles. To make the game fun and competitive, because who doesn't like a little bit of friendly competition, the people in this country also call the players dominant or recessive alleles. Dominant alleles are the best players. They're the most successful and they make the most money. They're dominant over the others. That's why they're called dominant. The recessive alleles are more like the amateurs. They lose a lot and they don't make much money. So, when two dominant alleles play each other on a Punnett square, they both have a 50-50 chance of winning. The same thing happens when two recessive alleles play. But think about what happens when a dominant and a recessive allele play each other. Well, the dominant allele, because it is dominant, beats the recessive allele. Even when the two are together, the dominant will always overpower the recessive. Now, let's rein this example back in and get back to real life and start by define the terms. So first off, you have a gene. And a gene is a section of DNA that codes for a trait. So you need to remember that a gene codes for a trait. But an allele is a variant of a gene. You see, a gene, we all have a gene for hair color, but some of us may have an allele for blue hair color, some of us green, some of us brown. So an allele is a variant of a gene. But you might ask, where do we get these alleles from? Do they just appear out of thin air? And my answer to that would be no, of course not. You can't make alleles out of thin air. So you see, you've got your mom and your dad. And they both have two alleles. But in the reproductive process, only one allele is passed down. So your mom passes down one allele, your dad passes down one allele, and you get two alleles. Two. Perfect, don't you think? So, let's get back to the Punnett square. I said earlier that a Punnett square was a kind of court, and it is. It's sort of a battleground for alleles to fight it out. Let me show you what I mean. This is a Punnett square. Now, let's figure out what kind of allele combination you could have if both your parents have a double dominant. Just as a key, we're going to let this represent dominant, and this represents recessive. So your mom has double dominant, so you set up her double dominant at the top. So does your dad, so you put it on the sides. From then, it's simple addition. You're just going to add up the A's in the boxes. So in the first box, we have 2 capital A's, so 2 dominant alleles. In the second box, we have 2 dominant alleles as well. And you'll see the process is repeated in the third box and the fourth box. So this tells us that your chance of having a double dominant is 100%. 100%. Now let's do a similar example to this. So let's draw another Punnett square and pretend your parents both had double recessive. So we're going to draw a lowercase and a lowercase a because your mom has double recessive, and lowercase a with lowercase a for your dad. Now we're just going to add them up again. Lowercase a and lowercase a, lowercase a and lowercase a, and the process is repeated just like for the dominant ones. And now look what happens. You have a 100% chance of having double recessive. Now let's do the one final example that will really drive in how dominance works. So let's draw a Punnett square. If you learn how to draw a Punnett square now, it'll be so much easier for you later because this is one of the basics of dominance. What if your mom has a dominant allele and a recessive allele? And the same for your dad. What would your combination now be? So think about that while I make one little point clear. Let's pretend that a dominant allele in this case is going to be brown hair, while a recessive is going to be blonde hair. Okay? So let's look at this. Again, we're adding it up. 2 capital A's in the first box, a capital A and a lowercase a capital A and a lowercase a, and a lowercase a with a lowercase a. Just so you know, when you add a lowercase a and an uppercase a together, the uppercase goes first, just like it does in the sentence. So what do we have here? This here means that you have a 1/4 chance of being double dominant, right? 1/4 chance of double dominant. And this means you have a 1/4 chance of being double recessive. But this 50%, what is it? What does that 50% equal? Well, all we have to do is think back to the game of trait. When a dominant allele and the recessive allele comes together, the dominant allele is going to win over the recessive. So when you have a dominant and recessive allele present, the allele that carries the recessive trait will be overwhelmed by the dominant trait. Therefore, the trait that will appear is going to be brown hair. The color of hair brown. If you had a double dominant, then you have a 100% chance of brown hair. If you had a recessive, you have a chance of blonde hair. 100% chance. But if you have a capital and a lowercase a, you still have a recessive allele, but you're going to have the trait of the dominant allele. That's all there is to Gene's dominant alleles. Thanks for watching.